Virginia. We put together our meager earnings, But I had faith because he was a Christian, and all I kept saying is only in onward Christian soldier. And I knew that whether it was manna from heaven, but the financial wherewithal would come through. And suffice it to say that we did. We did go through it. We contacted the company. I remember us driving to Virginia, to get copies, to get the books. And at his home there are pictures where we are opening a cheap bottle of wine, parading the champagne. And it was a euphoric moment, to be quite frank. And as they say, the rest is history. We've continued, and each of us, we've done our own things, and on more demanding projects, we've combined efforts and so on. And I'm very happy to say that although the saying in Dominica that you want to hide something, you just check it in the book, still remains true to a significant degree. But I can say with great pride that many persons are showing a greater appreciation for what we've done than when we started 25 years ago. And I was speaking to somebody earlier this week, and some persons asked me, do you make a profit? So I said, well, it depends on how you define profit. Because when the Almighty asks, what doth it profit a man if he gets everything produced of his soul? Obviously, he meant something which transcended financial reward and financial return. So if the question refers to financial return, the question is, there is not much profit to be made from publishing books. If you don't agree with me, ask the Honorable Alfred Levy and ask his wonderful wife, Mrs. Levy. But if the profit you speak of, the return of investment you speak of, is the little contribution you're making, the fact that a student can call and indicate to you that your work was very helpful, the fact that someone can meet you on the street and say, you know what, I enjoy reading this, where can I get a copy, when is your next book? If you can achieve or experience that gratification of the soul, then yes, writing these books, writing has been a very, very profitable venture. No doubt, Gabriel continues to profit because he continues to produce these exhilarating, well-written, and informative books. I commend this book to you, and certainly to all Dominicans and others who have any interest in reading and who have any interest in learning or understanding the trajectory of Dominica's development and history. Thank you very much.
Stay with me for a second, if you may. Kathy, with your permission, because without Kathy's permission, I'm not sure how much of this would have been able to achieve, and my wife is not here. So Kathy, you can stand in for her. Behind every great man lies or resides or stands in a great woman. In front, like you. And so I know that I speak to not only a team effort on this level as between Irving, Judge, Doctor, Lape, or all the names, one of the names we have for him, but also teamwork as in the wives and the family and the community. So Irving, before our friends here, it was an intimate gathering. If I say I love you, it's not to say that I am suggesting an alternate lifestyle for you. But to say that it has been a journey. And I want to, before he goes back to the stage, tell you that it didn't start at Calgary. It started in the small research section of the Roseau Public Library. Somewhere around 75, 76, thereabouts, Irving and I found ourselves in that section because on most of the, or many of the shelves, we had read all the books. The library run out of books, for us. And so our only recourse was to go to the research section because the research section, as you know, you can't take the books out. You have to stay there. So we would come in there and we would read the Encyclopedia Britannica, sometimes from one cover to the next. We'd read the yearbooks and we would read other books and we would try to speed read because you got to get out by 4 o'clock. And I remember Miss Revere and a couple others, Miss Henry, she is now married to the gentleman who was president.
That's right.
Saying, Christian, Henry, it's time to go. You know, it's time to go. They're trying to lock the place up. And we're the last of the Mohicans, trying to go through quickly because, you know, it will not be, because during the school week, we were rare attendees for the weekends. And I say weekend, only Saturday. And I think Saturday, of course, Sunday is the library's closed. So that's where it started. And when Ruzi came back from Canada, and they started the cadre, I had a relationship with Irving. And since I said to him, there's a work-study cadre, he came because the word study, and we ended up being the publishers of Vanguard, Voice of the Working People. Both of us were our parents' homes. But we were very presumptuous to represent that we were indeed the voice of the working people. So we are working indeed, we have worked. I think the products that are of our labor, the fruits rather of our labors, have reached far beyond that which we ever could have considered. I want to share with you that 4 months ago I got a call from Flanders Fields, from Dr. Joseph Dan Hoeven, who is doing research on World War I and had found the grave of Douglas Manley, the brother of Michael Manley. And in doing the research, he said, I have come across the best written work on the history of the British West Indian military. And I'm trying to find out if you're the same Gabriel Christian who wrote a book for King and Country, The Service and Sacrifice of the British West Indian Military, with a gentleman by the name of Irving Andre, I think he's a judge in Canada. Are you the one? Are you the one? And furthermore, I'm doing a postdoctoral paper, and I'd like to include your work in that piece. This is the Belgian, on Flanders Fields, where the poppies grow, row by row. And I say this because if you go back to the Gresham urns and the inscriptions thereon, or you go back to Egypt and the pyramids, we have on the walls of the pyramids and the sphinx, the inscriptions, the hieroglyphics, the Mayan temples, the same thing, so that thousands of years later, we know that which they did. And the inspiration that Irving has been such that my wife, who's not here, will corroborate the evidence that I'm now going to, as they say in Papa, declare, that on occasion when Irving would call about my part, because we're writing in portions, and I'd say to her, take the call. She said, oh, you mean I'll have to take the call? Have you done your piece yet? Because Irving is calling you on a deadline, and we can't submit a complete manuscript unless I've done my portion. Now you better go downstairs and get cracking, because Irving is calling. You know, and she's trying to keep him while I run down there and say, oh yes, I'm on page so and so. But you know, we got it done. We got it done. We got it done. Inspiration. Alfred Libby, circa 1975. Alfred Libby, the first Dominican to have been educated in India on the Commonwealth program. To come back to be deputy principal and then principal of the Dominica High School.
I left there in 1965, I came back in 68.
Yes.
At that time, Clayton was there. Clayton Richardson, yeah. I come back from Jamaica.
Yes.
Was the first male graduates.
Yes, but Clayton, Dr. Shillingford went to Jamaica.
Correct.
The three rebels, they were called. But am I correct in saying that you're the first Dominican to study in India?
Yes, definitely.
So the first Dominican to study in India was Alfred Levy, and he taught me geography, and Miss Levy taught me literature here, because she was then an English tutor at the convent high school. But in those days, the sixth form college did not have the apparatus of a totally complete complement of teachers. So we would beg, borrow, we didn't steal, but she would come in and teach us English here. And I remember Middlematch and Casaubon and all of that fine stuff. And Chaucer, there's Chaucer, the non-stale, but I think we did Chaucer, the Franklin stale. And of course, in there you learn who is a burial man. Anybody here knows what's a burial man? For certain. Well, I think Miss Levy will maybe give me an A if I say a burial man is an uncouth man. Am I correct, Miss Levy? Or uncouth? So the reality was that we had that interest in learning, and we had that interest in recording history. And what I'm going to do is to say that what led to Commandante Pinres was, and I'll share this little vignette before I hit this. It's September 2000. My boyhood friend Irving Pascal, who introduced me to a fine Dominican builder who's right here. Let's welcome Stuart Paris, a fine Dominican builder. I had a good more standing to do a project. They'd come up to Washington for the American Academy of Ear, Nose, and Throat Surgeons. And they stayed at my home. And he said, Gabe, I have to show you something. I think Bruce is a dead man. I'm telling you something that has not been said in public. September 22nd, 2000. And when I went, opened Google, and there was a front page cover of the Final Call, which is the national newspaper of the Nation Islam. Rosie Douglas was between, on his right, insert the hometown of Muammar Gaddafi, the Muammar Gaddafi, beaming, his hand around Rosie's shoulder, and on the other side was the Minister Louis Farrakhan, and Rosie in the middle. Rosie had just concluded his address to the World Mataba in Sirte, Libya, with Hugo Chavez, and Manuel Ortega, and Chris Hanning, Thabo Mbeki, and a lot of other luminaries from the South. Irving Pascal, IP, said he's a dead man. My wife took IP to the conference. I went to pick up Rosie at the airport. I took him to the Qatar embassy. Rosie was sleeping on him. It was the third time I'd seen Rosie sleeping on him. He was sleeping on him at the University of New Orleans when the mayor gave him the keys to the city of New Orleans, and the chancellor did a MOU to set up a tourism, an ecotourism school in Dominica, so that people could come from the Caribbean and other countries to study ecotourism, the thing that Sam is doing. That was Rosie's first trip to the United States that we organized. That's when I met Carl John Baptist for the first time. That's when I met Matt Pelletier for the first time, and the guy called Augustine. He was on GIS. Felix Augustine. Because what Rosie was doing that had not been done by anyone, he would bring the press wherever he went. And I didn't know this gentleman when I left Dominica. He may have been very small or young. And Rosie, while speaking to the chancellor, I noticed he was sleeping on him. But earlier that day, when he came up the concourse at New Orleans airport, and this is all sort of part and parcel of this, because this is really the history of our people, the history of our struggle for development. Rosie was walking up with a plastic bag between two Secret Service agents, both of whom were better dressed than him. He had no jacket, colorful shirt, colorful tie. They tell you if you have a colorful tie, you can have a white shirt or plain shirt. It can clash. So I said, Rosie, your sleeves are rolled up. Where's your long sleeve? So he said, it's a long, short sleeve. And Rosie was about a lot of jokes. So we went to Johnston & Murphy, and I bought some clothes for Rosie and so on. And that was March of 2000. In May, I saw Rosie with the same shoes. It was a good shoe, but it was not prime ministerial. I said, Rosie, where's the shoe I got for you at Johnston & Murphy in New Orleans? Rosie said, oh man, Gabe, look, I used to be a cadet, I tried to sign that shoe, it couldn't take any shine. When Rosie passed away, I learned that someone was going to get married, didn't have any shoes, and Rosie gave him shoes. That was the kind of prime minister we had. Rosie, who was born to a wealthy family, had absolutely zero interest in acquiring material possessions. When we were done with the Qataris, Rosie came into my car. It was an Acura, a little wood grain in it. Rosie had a lot of jokes, and Rosie said, Gabe, of all the cars in America that have the big ones, so you had to get. I said, Rosie, that's not a big car. He said, what they do? He was saying that to segue into a joke. He says, when he went to Canada in '61, the year I was born, he went to Guelph and then later McGill. He sent a picture to his father, RBD, who was a very frugal man. And Rosie was living in an apartment building. And he told the gentleman who was his roommate to take a picture of him in front of the building. And he opened his hands like this, apartment building. So he sent the picture and at the back to his father, and at the back he wrote, "Dear Dad, my home." So when RBD got the picture, he immediately wrote Rosie, and he said, "Rosie, all the homes in Canada, it's a big one like that here together." They're not realizing that you're only staying in one unit in the apartment. And then of course, you know, he told me that within 6 months, you know, being a little careless, he ran out of money. And he sent a cable, in those days no internet, he sent a cable to RBD. And he said to RBD, in those days cables, you had to pay for a letter. So less letter you use, less money spent. He says, "Dear Dad, no man, your son." Then RBD got the cable, he responded with alacrity. He says, "Dear son, so sad, too bad, your dad." So Rosie was a man who was very humble, full of jokes. You know, if you had a piece of bread, give you half, you know, never interested and so on. And so I had a divorce client, Cumberbatch, Barbados, who was at McGill. And he was at Rosie the night the fire took place. And Rosie didn't put the fire. The fire was actually accidental, but anyway, he was charged and arrested for it. And he said to me, "I've heard that Rosie is now Prime Minister. I'm the chief haberdasher at Bloomingdale's, which is a fine men's store in Rockville outside Washington. When he comes, bring him to me. I will set him up." So when we got done with the Qataris, I said, "Let me bring Rosie to the place." So I wanted to tell him. I didn't want to tell him where we were going, because I know him, I know he would not want to come. So I said, "We got to go see this." And he said, "Well, we have Georgetown this evening, we have this other place and so on. Where are we going?" And I felt compelled then to say, "Well, look, this guy went to school with you, he's a haberdasher, and he wants and so on."